I've posted more extensive notes for these, but I wanted to give a couple, 2 or 3 examples where I graph a line through the origin and calculate the slope. So for an example, suppose it says graph y equals 3x. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is set x equals 0 and solve for y. So y equals 3 times 0, which means y equals 0. So if x equals 0 and y equals 0, that means that the line goes through the origin, which is both the x and y intercept. So we have to find another point on the line. And in order to do that, I'm going to set x equal to 1 and solve for y. So when x equals 1, I get y equals 3 times 1, or y equals 3. So from this first step, I got 0, 0 is on the line. From the second step, I got 1, 3 is on the line, and I can use those 2 points to graph the line. So here is my coordinates, and the origin 0, 0 is on the line. And when x is 1, y is 3. That gives me another point on the line. Join them with a line. That's the end of example 1. So step 3 would be to plot the points, join with a line. Now, one more example like this. Sometimes they'll give you an example where the coefficient of x is a fraction, something like this, y equals, say, 1/4 x. Or they might write it this way, x over 4. Those are the same things. I'm still going to set x equals 0 and solve for y. So y equals 1/4 times 0, which is still 0. So that tells me that the point 0, 0, the origin is on the line. But now, because the coefficient of x is a fraction, instead of setting x equal to 1, I'm going to set x equal to 4, which is the denominator of the fraction, which gives me y equals 1/4 times 4. And notice what happens is that the 4's cancel out, which is why we picked 4, and I get y equals 1 when I solve for y. So the point 4, 1 is on the graph. I have the origin and the point 4, 1 is on the graph. So I can plot the points, draw the line. So here's the origin. When x is 4, y is 1. There's that line. Now, in the next section, they calculate slopes, and I just wanted to do an example to show how to calculate a slope. Again, I've posted some extensive notes on this. So here's another example. Find the slope of the line joining 3, -1, and 5, 6. I just randomly made up those numbers. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. So the formula for slope, which is denoted b, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the first thing I'm going to do is identify the given points as x1, y1 and x2, y2. So here's 3 minus 1. This is the 3 is the x1, the minus 1 is the y1. For 5, 6, the 5 is the x2 and the 6 is the y2. Then I'm going to write the slope formula, plugging in the values. So the slope formula B is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which for this example is 6. Now here's where you have to be careful. There's a minus sign in the formula, and the y1 is a negative also. Whoops. So it's actually 6 subtract a negative 1, and on the bottom, x2 is 5, and x1 is 3. Now you can mess around with this, but I'm just going to enter this directly into the calculator without trying to figure it out separately. So I have 6 minus a negative 1 divided by 5 minus 3. And as you know, on the calculator, I'm going to put a parentheses around the numerator, a parentheses around the denominator. So I'm going like this, parentheses, 6 subtract a negative 1 divided by parentheses 5 minus 3, close the parentheses, and when I hit enter, it gives me 3.5 as the answer in decimal form. If they ask the answer in a fraction, I can do answer to frac by going math to frac the first thing, and as a rational number, it gives me 7/2. I know sometimes they ask for the decimal, sometimes they ask for the fraction.